Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. And let's go. This is Ballsy Uncut for Wednesday. This is the last show I got this week, actually, because I am doing dad duty. I'm not, unfortunately, going to call that Regina Thunder game against the Okanagan Sun, which I highly encourage you to watch on Access Now. If you can't get to the game, but you got to get to the game and be there. It's supposed to be a nice day on Sunday in Regina, 1 o'clock kickoff, Regina Thunder and the Okanagan Sun. And that's where we'll start the pick six. So we'll start with that one. We've got Scott MacAulay coming up here very shortly, the head coach of the Regina Thunder. Actually, he's a little further down the docket, but we'll address that and talk about finally knocking off the Saskatoon Hilltops. It actually is, I say finally, but it actually is the second time in 3 years they're going to a semifinal. They've won the PFC 2 of the last 3 years, 3 times in their 25-year history, this being year number 25. So we'll talk Thunder football, and I can't wait for that. But yeah, this is my last show for that reason. I'm going to Calgary this weekend to watch my son take on the U of S Huskies. He's with the UFC Dinos. Sorry, I'm used to him wearing green and white, green and black with the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. But anyway, he's playing with Ryan Sheehan, Mike Edam, Ben DeAndre's Dinos. And it's been a wacky, wacky year. They should be, have 4, maybe even 5 wins. They've got 2. They're 2 and 5 on the year. They can make the playoffs if the Rams lose to the U of A on Friday, and the Dinos beat the Huskies, who can't go up or down in the standings. They'll finish in 3rd in the Canada West. But basically, it comes down to this. Rams win, Mark McConkey's squad wins, they're into the playoffs, which would be great for them. Not so good for the Ball family. Not that Ram fans care, and I wouldn't expect them to. Kind of torn because I'm a Rams guy playing junior football for the Rams, but I'm a dad first. So that's why I'm going. Could potentially be Ethan's last college game. He does have another year of eligibility, but as I've said a few times, hoping to get drafted into the CFL if everything goes according to his plan. We'll see. Because as I found out, you can have a plan and it gets changed pretty fast. But I'm not going to be here Friday or Saturday, so there will be no Ballsy Uncut Friday and no Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. We will return for the semifinals, the final, and the Grey Cup, starting obviously 2 Saturdays from now. We'll find out, will the Riders be on a bye and hosting the West final, or will they be hosting the BC Lions in the West semifinal? We'll know after Saturday because, of course, Winnipeg's taking on the Montreal Alouettes, and the Riders are taking on the Calgary Stampeders, who are already half out the door, ready to end their season. Let's start. So we started the pick six talking out of order. The pick six, if you're just tuning in, is 6 stories, 6 topics that we address here on the show. And this is primarily a football podcast, but we do talk other sports. You see the Pats jersey over my shoulder and a figurine of Bryce Harper. So we talk baseball, we talk hockey, we talk it all here. And we'll take your comments too. X, Facebook, and YouTube at Ballsy Uncut. The number 2 in the pick six, CFL award nominees. 2 defensive players are candidates to win the CFL's Most Outstanding Player Award. And as I look at the awards here, the Most Outstanding Player Award, the Riders nominee for Most Outstanding Player Award, Most Outstanding Defensive Player, and Special Teams Player, no surprise, it's Roland Milligan. But out west, you've got Justin McInnes for the Lions, Eugene Lewis for the Eltimos, Reggie Bagleton for Calgary, Milligan Jr. for the Riders, Brady Oliveira for the Blue Bombers. You could make a case for McInnes and or Oliveira. McInnes leading the league in receiving yards with over 1,407 touchdowns, although he's cooled off a bit lately. And Brady Oliveira started slow in terms of touchdowns. He has 3 touchdowns on the year and 1,300 yards rushing to lead the league. If I was to say the West nominee, it's got to be Roland Milligan. Like I think he's got 97 total tackles, 71 on defense. He's got 8 interceptions, leads the league in pass breakups. covers kicks like a demon. I said there's really only one front runner favorite out of the West. It's got to be Milligan Jr. And out of the East, you got Bo Levi Mitchell, Kadeem Carey, Justin Hardy, Tyrese Beverett. Hardy's up there in receiving. Carey has been a nice find since they replaced AJ Ouellette in Toronto. Bo Levi Mitchell, I think, would be the MOP had his team made the playoffs, but they're not making the playoffs. So even though I think he is probably most valuable, well, no, I wouldn't say that. I still think Roland Milligan is the most valuable player to his team, and that's really the essence of the award. So, but Bowen Hamilton and Tyrese Beverett, who is, the linebacker, which is a very tough position to play special teams. He's had a great year, 107 tackles. But I'm going to say it's going to be kind of crazy, but I think it'll be Beverett against Roland Milligan Jr., and I think Roland Milligan Jr. is your MOP. In fact, I think it would be a disgrace if he didn't get it, but it wouldn't. I mean, I could buy Tyrese Beverett, but I think Roland Milligan Jr. is the guy. Most outstanding defensive player, BC, it's Gary Peters. Edmonton, Niles Morgan. Calgary, it's Cameron Judge. Milligan Jr. with the Riders, as I said. Tyrell Ford of the Blue Bombers, who will join us in a little bit. Yeah, Tyrell's going to be on the show. It's pretty big accomplishment for a field side corner with 7 interceptions and 10 pass breakups to be your team's nominee for most outstanding defensive player. Jamal Peters in Hamilton, Deshaun Amos in Toronto, Michael Wakefield in Ottawa, and Montreal's Tyrese Beverett. I think if you give Milligan the MOP, then Beverett gets the outstanding defensive player. I could see him doing that, or give them both to whoever you give the MOP to. Most outstanding Canadian in the West, McInnes, BC, Curly Gittins Jr., who had a bounce-back year in Edmonton, Cam Judge in Calgary, Sam Emelis, who had a great year with the Riders, Brady Oliveira in Winnipeg. I think the Western nominee will be Justin McInnes in a breakout year with the BC Lions. At least I think he should be. Keandre Smith with the Ticats, Liram Hiralahu for the Argos, Ottawa's Drew Desjardins, and Montreal's Isaac Ademi Berglund, who came over from Calgary. I'm going to go with who out of the East? Coin flip, Smith or Ademi Berglund, but the overall most outstanding Canadian is Justin McInnes, in my opinion. He's going to lead the league in receiving, most likely. Outstanding offensive line. Well, he probably will because Hardy's hurt. Most outstanding offensive lineman, BC's Jarrell Broxton, Martez Ivy Edmonton, Sean McEwen Calgary, Saskatchewan's Logan Furland, Winnipeg Stanley Bryan, Hamilton's Brandon Revenberg, Toronto's Ryan Hunter, Ottawa's Drew Desjardins, and Montreal's Pierre-Olivier Lestage. It's got to be Logan Furland. He is the Riders nominee, and he is the best offensive lineman in the league. In terms of this year, what the Riders have done with their line combinations and all the injuries, this guy's played every position on the offensive line and is nicely moved in to be the center, taken over from the injured Peter Godber, who has one more game on the 6-game IR, and then he's due to come back for the playoffs. But I'll tell you what, man, to be the quarterback of the offensive line, to play both guards and both tackles, he is the most outstanding offensive lineman of the year with a bullet, in my opinion. Most outstanding special teams player. Now, there's a BC, it's Sean White. Edmonton, it's Jake Julian, who had the best net average for punting, or best gross average for punting, beating John Ryan's old record. Calgary's Rene Paredes, Roland Milligan, Winnipeg, Sergio Castillo, Mark Leggio, Hamilton, Toronto's Janarian Grant, Ottawa's Adarius Pickett, and James Letcher Jr. for Montreal. Out of the West, it's Sean White, I think. He's got like 94% field goals, made every convert. Yes, I know he plays in a dome stadium, mostly dome stadium, unless they have the roof open for half of his season. But he is money. Veteran kicker. One of the BC used to have kicking problems till they signed him a couple of years back. So Sean White out of the West and Janarian Grant out of the East of the Argos. And I think Grant will get the award, and he should. One of the few mistakes the Bombers have made personnel wise when trying to divvy up their money and deciding who they're going to take. Allende Ely from BC, most outstanding rookie. Nick Anderson, Edmonton, Calgary, Clarence Hicks. Saskatchewan, Trevor Reed, who's been a nice find at left tackle, by the way. Give Jeremy O'Day, Kyle Carson, Paul Jones credit there, where credit's due. Ontario Wilson for Winnipeg, Hamilton Shamar Bridges, Mackay Polk, a former NFLer with Toronto, Ottawa's Khalil Pimpleton, who's been on the show, and Montreal's Guthrie Canton Arcou. Tough one. Shamar Bridges probably out of the East. He's had a pretty good year, although he got hurt with his shin, but had almost 1,000 yards in his first year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats at receiver. And I think he'll go up against Nick Anderson of the Edmonton Elks. The Elkamos Anderson near the tackle leaders in the CFL. So I'm going to say Nick Anderson wins that award. That would be my opinion. So we'll see how that shakes down. But I think Milligan Jr. is the MOP, as I've said before. Number 3 in the pick 6, DeAndre Hopkins on his way to Kansas City. Ian Rappaport of NFL Media reports that the Titans and Chiefs completed a trade that will send the veteran receiver to the back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Just what they need, another weapon. Just give them the title now. Just give the Chiefs the title now. Mahomes has had injuries all around him, and they're still 6-0. Now you add the 10-year vet who is only one touchdown grab this year. Hasn't had a great year, but he's, of course, been in Tennessee. So he comes over from the Titans. It's a 5th-round pick that can escalate to a 4th-rounder if certain conditions are met. Okay, so that was 3. Number 4 on the pick 6, Fernando Valenzuela, the man behind Fernando Mania, while winning the NL Cy Young Award and Rookie of the Year honor, something that's never been done before, and I don't think since, in 1981. And the Dodgers went on to win the World Series. He has died at the age of 63, died yesterday in an LA hospital. He was part of their Spanish broadcast, the Dodgers Spanish broadcast, and really a driving force when he came on the scene. You see, in the 50s, Chavez Ravine, where the stadium is built, they had to supplant a bunch of the Latino community in that area to build the stadium. So there were some hard feelings. And then this guy from a little Mexican town comes and catches baseball by storm, and the Latinos warm up to him and the Dodgers. So he was a big figure on the field and off the field, literally and figuratively. He had that screwball, that funky wind-up as a lefty, where he paused at the top, had his arms raised high in the air, looked at the top of the brim of his cap, and almost like he looked towards the heaven before he threw the ball. 5 of his first 8 starts were shutouts in 1981. And in 1981, the Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series after dropping the first 2 games. Kind of ironic, the Dodgers play the Yankees to open the World Series in LA on Friday. And we will get some thoughts tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to air tomorrow's interview because I forgot to add it to the docket today with Caleb Joseph. I talked to Caleb Joseph, the Major League Baseball catcher and analyst for Sportsnet. So I'll put that up on my social media pages tomorrow. It'll be the interview with our friend Caleb Joseph, a one-off, as it were, teeing up the World Series. I talked to him before we knew that Fernando Valenzuela had passed away. Speaking of LA, number 5 in the pick 6, LeBron and Bronny, 3 minutes of glory together on the floor. It's special, I guess. First father-son combination of playing the NBA, kind of like Gordie Howe and his sons in hockey. But let's be honest, the kid, Bronny, he's a way better basketball player than most people could dream to be. But he shouldn't be in the NBA. The only reason he's there is because of his dad. The only reason he got drafted is because of his dad. But I guess a father-son moment, I wouldn't take it away from them. Kudos to them. They won 110-103, but Bronny should be back in the G League or the D League or whatever the hell they call it. I haven't really watched much basketball probably since COVID, to be quite honest with you. And number 6 in the big pick 6, nicest surprise in the NHL so far, the Calgary Flames, a 4-3 shootout win over Crosby, Malkin, and the Penguins. They're off to a 5-0-1 start. Jets are a perfect 6-0 as they top the Blues 3-2. Cole Perfetti had all the assists in that game for the Jets, winning that one. And Connor Hellebuck made 27 saves. And my Edmonton Oilers, shocker, they're off to a slow start again. Connor McDavid is starting to show up. He scored 2 goals last night, but they lost 3-2 in overtime to Carolina. Stuart Skinner, outstanding in the game. He's playing pretty well. The other Skinner, Jeff Skinner, not bad. And even Darnell Nurse, public enemy number one, has really stepped up his game. I thought he's been physical and pretty good. But missing in action, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, the 70-goal man. Zach Hyman doesn't even have a point. And one of their big signings, Arvidsson, who comes over from the Kings, he doesn't have a point. Well, he doesn't have a goal. I know that. And the D is still a bit of a mess. They will get it they'll get it figured out. They're too good not to get it figured out. Does that mean they'll go on another big run like they did last year, starting 2-9-1 and then making it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final? Time will tell. They got two of the best 5 players in the world on their team, although Draisaitl looks like he cashed his fat check and doesn't really care. That's how he's playing right now. Anyway, they have to figure it out because they cannot afford to fire another coach, can they? I mean, Chris Knobloch of Imperial Saskatchewan, good Saskatchewan guy, Gulletson on the bench. I'm sure they'll get it turned around, but somewhere the former coach who was fired last year, Jay Woodcroft, is laughing. All right, we got a loaded show coming up here. We are going to recognize some of our sponsors that promote the post-game show as well, because I'm not doing a post-game show, so I'll give them a couple of free plugs in here. And whenever you're spending your money, your hard-earned money, whether it's buying a house with our friend Paul Waldo at Royal LePage, or getting tires from our friend, go to our friends at Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue, as I did this week to put some winter tires on my daughter's car. Yeah, winter tires, it's coming, even though the weather's beautiful. So, check out some of these great, fine sponsors. Up first, this guy's an outstanding Canadian football player. He's kind of a unicorn. He's playing the corner and playing it well to the point where he is the most outstanding defensive player nominee from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's Tyrell Ford. It's up next on Ballsy Uncut. All right, really excited to talk to this guy. So help me out. Is it Tyrell or Tyrell? How do you say it?
Tyrell.
Tyrell. Okay, Tyrell Ford, who is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers nominee for Outstanding Defensive Player. That'll put a smile on your face or what?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I don't know. For some reason, I haven't been super talkative today, so I'm trying to get it out. But yeah, I'm obviously excited. That's a pretty big accomplishment. And it's something I think that's special, especially like for it being my first year starting. So I think it's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. That's outstanding. And you're a starting Canadian corner. Now, a guy who sponsors this podcast, Paul Waldo, who's a 3-time Grey Cup champ from Regina. He was mainly a special teams guy, but he did get some bit work on the corner. But Davis Sanchez is the real, outstanding Canadian, the last one I can remember on the corner. Do you ever think about that when you play, and carry? Because we talk about your brother being a Canadian quarterback, but you don't see a lot of Canadian cornerbacks, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of something you think about more before the season. After week 1, it's kind of, it's just been my spot.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's something special to be involved in the conversation just for defensive player for the year, because I feel the corner usually, it's like the spot that doesn't get a lot of action, and somehow I managed to get 7 picks and 10 knockdowns, and it could impact some games. So I think it's pretty cool. Dude,
that's a career. 7 interceptions. Do you have a favorite one this year, Tyrell?
Yeah, my favorite one's probably the second one I got in the Banjo Bowl to end the game. That one was pretty cool, and then maybe the one I gave the ball to my dad, but I don't know. Between those two, for sure.
Sorry, we'll get to the Banjo Bowl one in a second because there's a story behind that. But which ball did you give to your dad? Was it your first one? Which one did you give to your dad?
The first one I gave, it was the last one I had in Hamilton because he was there. And so, yeah.
Okay, so in terms, I know when my son plays, we always talk after the game and break things down. When you're done a game, Tyrell, are you calling your dad? Or are you calling your brother? Who are you talking to? Who are you breaking the game down with besides your teammates?
So usually I'll call my dad first because he likes to go to sleep a little bit earlier, so I'll call him. And then I'll call my brother. And then I'll call my one friend from back home that I train with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I make 3 phone calls after every game. Usually last somewhere between maybe like an hour for everybody all combined together. So it's not too bad.
That's awesome, man. Hey, how much does it help having a brother going through the same thing you're going through at a different position, but you're both high level athletes in the same league? That's really unique and really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely special. It brings a level of comfortability or whatever you want to call it, but just like having someone to train with all the time that's like doing the same thing as you and understands how everything works, it makes everything a lot easier.
Hey, let me ask you this. Answer it if you want. Don't answer it if you want. It's fine. I've been a big advocate of the Canadian. I love the ratio. I've been a supporter of Nathan Rourke, and I'm a supporter of your brother for sure. I often feel like if your brother would have been from South Carolina, a Canadian playing at South Carolina, he probably would have a longer leash, or he wouldn't get up and down like a yo-yo. Do you kind of feel that? Do you agree with a statement like that?
I don't know. It's tough because I know he's won the starting job a couple times, but he gets hurt, so he's gotta find a way to win the job and stay healthy. I mean, obviously when he's out there, he's producing and he's doing well, but it's hard to be given a full-time quarterback job if you're hurt a couple, like 5-6 weeks here, 3 weeks here. So it's something you gotta, like I've been out here 2 years, I haven't missed a single game, so it's just something you gotta take care of your body, play smart, and yeah.
Yeah. So who's a better athlete, you or Trey?
I'm definitely going to go with me. Yeah. I mean, I run a little faster. I can jump a little higher. So, definitely stronger.
I'm glad you said that. So let's go back to that Banjo Bowl interception, okay? Early in that game, you go to make a tackle on a running back, a Rider running back, and you went tumbling into their bench. Whenever you go into another team's bench, how awkward is that, and how awkward was that situation for you?
So that's actually such a funny question because over the whole course of the year, with the exception of that one game, no one's really said anything to me. I kind of just been out there, so it wasn't bad. But yeah, I was on their sideline. They were saying some chirps, and I was like, guys, it's the second play of the game. Like, that's crazy.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, then I ended up getting the interception in the end, and I had some words to chirp back, and yeah, it was a good day.
So you can say anything you want on this podcast because we're not. There's no boss. I'm the boss. You can say whatever you want. So if you want to, like, what are you a man of few words? Like, what did you say when you made that interception? Because I remember you chirping their bench. I do remember you saying something to their bench there.
Yeah. So all I did is I pretty much said what they said. So when I missed the tackle, they were like, "Oh, Ford, you're so sorry." Da 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 da.
Yeah.
So I caught the ball, and I just said, "Well, who's sorry now?" And then yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Then I went and celebrated with my boys.
Yeah. So listen, it must feel good to beat the Rough Riders. Like that is your rival right there, right? The Banjo Bowl and the Labor Day. What's those back-to-back games like?
Well, it's crazy loud for one. It doesn't matter where you go. It's it's a crazy environment. And obviously, they're a good team. They're right now. It's neck and neck. This last week came down to it. But yeah, they're a good opponent, and it's good competition. So.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. You guys you guys started in the hole, but you can't, just when we think we're throwing dirt on the Bombers, they rise up like the Undertaker and they're ready to go. So you got the Montreal Alouettes. It's kind of a weird game for you guys because I don't know if you know what you're going to get from Montreal. Who's going to play, who's not going to play. How hard is it to prepare for something like that?
You prepare for everybody. I feel like the only biggest thing is going to be maybe their quarterbacks, maybe Fajardo plays the first half or first quarter or something, or maybe plays the whole game. But it doesn't really matter. We prepare for both the quarterbacks, and yeah, we're ready to go. It doesn't matter who's out there.
So, what's your guilty pleasure snack when you're chilling before a game? Like or in the week leading up to the game? Because you're a young guy with fast metabolism, you can eat whatever you want. What's your guilty pleasure food, bro?
Yeah, so I would say ice cap, but I feel like that's not even it because I have an ice cap every day, so that doesn't really count. But I'd probably say peanut butter M&Ms.
Really?
Yeah, those are my go-to.
So how much can you crush? How many of those can you crush?
There's like the big bag you can get from the store. It's like 1 kilogram or something. It's like $18. I can eat the whole bag in one night.
Really?
Yeah, wow. It's not good for you, obviously, but it tastes good.
Hey, I don't know how much you watch your pennies, but like, have you noticed inflation when it comes to the bag of M&Ms? How it's gone up in price?
Yeah, it used to be like $11 when I was eating them before, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, and lastly, are you a football video game guy? Like, do you like playing football video games?
I really play basketball, video games, and I'll obviously play a little bit of Call of Duty here and there, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's about it really.
And who's your best friend on the team? Like, who's helped you as a young guy coming into this team on the defensive side of things?
I gotta go with Evan.
Hmm.
We got a pretty cool story. I met him at a showcase in Dallas back when I was in university, so that was cool. Even though we didn't really talk much because we kind of just were
Hmm.
both there. And then he was at the Jets camp with me, and then I was talking to him about the CFL, and he's like, "No, I haven't ever really talked about it." And then like 2 weeks later, he messaged me, and he's like, "Oh, I'm coming to Winnipeg," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm in Winnipeg," and he's like, "Cool." And then we had our first year together, and then I left and came back, but just like on the field, he's always helping me, giving me the calls, or
Hmm.
because he's been in the play, but he played a lot his first year, and then started his second year, got an All Star. So now he just be giving me a little bit of the game and
Hmm.
making it a little simpler and easy, so I can play fast.
Evan Holm played with my son at UND, and Evan Holm, for him to come in, he didn't even. I don't think he came in partway through the season his first year. And just talk about that because you're a Canadian, you get the game, you get the waggle, you get all that stuff. Talk
Yeah,
about an American coming in here, bigger field and the waggle. Like to do what he's doing is pretty incredible.
yeah, it's really funny too, because like we're obviously both pretty athletic, and we start trying to like compare numbers and stuff from our combine, and it's like we talk about it, and we literally had the like exact same numbers for almost everything. So it was pretty cool. It's
That's
funny.
awesome. That's awesome, man. Hey, I'll let you go. Thanks very much for your time. Congratulations on the honor. Hopefully, it carries over to the, you get the ultimate hardware. But 7 interceptions, 10 knockdowns, 10 PBUs as a field cornerman. Great season. Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so that's Tyrell Ford, the brother of Trey Ford, and he just said right there he's a better athlete. Okay, the last rounds of Ballsy's best bets picking CFL regular season games, I guess, because I won't be here Friday, and we're not doing an Our Balls Are Bigger post game show because I'm in Calgary watching my kids' Dinos against the U.S. Uh, Couple of teams' fates hang in the balance. Now, I predicted a while ago, so I'm going to stay with it, even though I wouldn't be surprised if Ottawa wins. But I say Ottawa doesn't win another game. I said that after they lost to Saskatchewan. They wrap up at home against Hamilton. Ottawa wants to feel good going in and have some sort of winning um, feeling. On a positive note, Hamilton there to douse it. They've played real good after getting off to a terrible start. I got Hamilton winning that game. I'm going to stick with my prediction. Edmonton home to Toronto. Once again, will this be the last game coaching for Jarius Jackson as head coach and his staff, and G. Roy Simon as the new owner, Larry Thompson, make some sweeping changes? Who knows? Last chance to audition for the new owner. It's Edmonton against Toronto. I got the Argos winning that one as they continue to roll towards the playoffs. Winnipeg at Montreal. If the Winnipeg Blue Bombers beat Montreal at 10-7, they finish 11-7 and in first again in the CFL West, and an all-important bye to the, in the first round. Just have to win one game to get to the Grey Cup then. Montreal didn't look good last week. Dressed Cody for the first half. From what I can gather, he's taken first team reps again. Austin Mack is back practicing, their outstanding receiver who left for the NFL, then came back and got hurt. So we'll see how much Cody plays. I would expect Jason Moss to go after it for at least a half. I think Winnipeg wins that one close and finishes in first, so I'll go Blue Bombers there. And the Riders, Calgary's already half out the door. Like they've already booked their tickets, whether they're from Tennessee or Florida or down east or whatever. They've checked out. The season's basically over. Now, some guys are going to play hard because they're playing for jobs. They should all play hard, but you know what? So there's just the human side of it where it's like, I just don't want to get hurt. So we'll see. I think it'll be a competitive game for a while, but I get the Riders winning by, I said 17, but we won't know. Like they'll have their roster set. They'll show up to the game to warm up and everything. And by the time the game kicks off, they'll know if they have a shot at first or not. If they don't, I wouldn't want to see the likes of AJ Ouellette or Trevor Harris or Anthony Lanier II. So that'll doctor the point total. In fact, I'm going to say right now, they'll win by 10. Riders by 10, regardless of if it's for first or just playing out the string, getting ready for the West semifinals. So Riders by 10 over Calgary. And then the Stamps will be on the clock. They have the first overall pick in the Canadian College Draft for the first time since 2004. Yeah, I want to recognize Paul Waldo and Ward Tirecraft. Call Paul. Get the real estate game 306-502-5355. Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue. Go in and say Ballsy sent you for your winter tires, braking needs. Get 10% off. The District Brewing Super Squeeze Seltzer, Mango Lime, Passion Fruit Lime. Thanks to them for getting on board. They were one of the first sponsors that did get on board. And Gerhardt Studios, great in website design, great in social media for your company, even wedding photography, still photos with Dean and Nicole. They're on McCarra Street. Thanks to Gerhardt Studios for getting on board. And Murad El Khatib, his brother Omar, and the good gang at EGT Foods Canada. Murad, of course, Regina Thunder president. You know, he's pumped for the extra revenue and a chance for his team to right a wrong and beat Okanagan, who came in here and beat the Regina Thunder in 2022 and stole the Canadian Bowl from them. Another O'Shea does in a Saskatchewan team. That was Mike O'Shea's son playing receiver, who's now on the Manitoba Bisons. All right, sponsor break, and then we'll get to Marcus Sayles of your Saskatchewan Roughriders. All right, we're here with the number 8 of your Saskatchewan Roughriders, Marcus Sayles. You are wearing a toque. Are you cold?
Man, I'm a two guy every day, but it's definitely getting a little colder out here. Saskatchewan is a very cold city, but we're embracing it, and we're using it as our playoff advantage.
Hey, so where are you from? Forgive me for not knowing that.
I was born in New York, but I'm from Georgia.
Georgia. Okay. So New York, it's a little cool. Georgia, not so much. And you're most recently used to playing in BC. So it would be
a little dome.
Yeah. You know what though? This is pretty mild comparatively speaking, but how exciting are things around there now? There was a stretch where you couldn't get out of your own way, and now all of a sudden it swings back the other way and you seem to be rolling at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, our spirits in the locker room are at the top of its game. We've never faltered all season, even in those times when we were losing a lot of games. We always felt as if they were either close games and we were right there, or there was just one play that kind of messed us up, or but we've at the end of the day we've always been close as a team. We've never faltered, and it feels good just being able to get back on our winning streak. So
don't take this the wrong way, but in BC nobody really Amar Doman's done a great job of building it up there, but comparatively speaking, nobody gives a shit about the BC Lions in BC, right? Comparatively speaking.
Exactly.
So you could go on a 7-game slide and not a big deal. You could still go to the grocery store or go have dinner out. In Regina, it's a little bit different. What was it like, or what's it like being in a fishbowl when it's the worst of times, not the best of times?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, even like being around all the fans, like our fans knew that we were still right there too. Even like talking to them after the game, sometimes they've always had our back. They've never felt as if like we was down bad, and it feels good being around like a fan base like that, being around a fan base that that's continually to push you and continue to think that we can still win all these games, and that's kind of helped us throughout this whole season. We've never faltered, like I've been saying, and things have just been good.
So you were a big deal in Winnipeg, and you were in a fan base in Winnipeg that was pretty rabid. How does this one compare? Is it kind of similar?
Yeah, it is kind of similar. Both fan bases are very good. The games are going to be loud in both places, and honestly, it's really been all love since I've been here. I've been embraced, and honestly, I've been saying it feels like playing for the Lakers when I've been out here, and even with Winnipeg, they think their football is their priority. So I'm just blessed to be able to have been playing for this long.
Okay, Marcus, you've been in 2 different spots. Who's got the better facilities, the Riders or the Bombers?
I'm not gonna lie, Sass's facility is top notch. It's comparatively to like an NFL facility, so that's all I can say.
Yeah. So you were in Winnipeg, then you went to BC, and you were released by the Lions. How jacked do you get to play your former teams? Like, it's a small league, playing Winnipeg, playing BC. Because I watched that game against the Lions, man. You're about 5'8", 5'9", 190, 185, little undersized. But as I said on my postgame show, I really like how you punch above your weight. And that hit in the open field, you know which one I'm talking about. You're smiling like a butcher's dog. That seemed to have a little more oomph behind it. What's it like playing against your team?
No, it's good. It's fun just because, I'm playing against guys that I've known. I've been playing against guys that I've been around and, have relationships with. And, at the end of the day, like there's no hate against BC. They got to do what's best for their football team. But, at the same time, it gives you a little chip on your shoulder to feel as if that, I couldn't have been a part of that, whatever they wanted to build. But at the same time, since I've been here, it's been nothing but love. They've embraced me. The fan base has embraced me, the team. Everybody has gotten me right. And, I couldn't ask for anything more. I love the position that we're in. I love, how we've been building everything. And we're doing this all for the Grey Cup. So
can you tell me who helped keep it on the rails, either coaches or leaders in the locker room when, like you said, you've all been on board, but there's got to be somebody other than maybe Mace trying to keep this thing on the rails when things are kind of sliding a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk for all the coaches. I mean, it starts with Coach Mace. Coach Mace is always going to be our leader. He makes sure is that we're still going to stay on track. We're still going to keep our head focused, and it kind of just trickles out from there. It goes from him to our position coaches, and from our position coaches to our positional leaders. We talk guys like even in our group, Ro and CJ. Those are the more outspoken guys on our team, and we've, like I said, all of our games have been close, so that it never really felt as if like we've been too far behind or we've gotten like kind of under the season. It's all been right there for our taking, and we've stayed that course, and we're in a good position right now.
So Roland Milligan is up for almost every award. I think he should be the most outstanding player in the league. He's also up for defensive player and special teams player, for your team. Just talk about Roland Milligan. How does, like, you've played with a lot of great players, okay? Where does he rank amongst the players you've played with in this league?
Yeah, I was talking to him really, like I told him, I was like, bro, like you're really probably one of the best players I've been around just like since I've been in this league. And I mean, I think everybody can see it. He deserves the award. He deserves being MOP, deserves being a defensive player of the year. And he just flies around the ball differently. For him to be able to do it on defense and then do it on special teams. And, sometimes he'll get tweaked up. He'll stay in the game, or he just has that leadership mentality that you need. And, he's a soft-spoken guy, but at the same time, he's a leader, and everybody, rides behind him. And he's a baller. You can't ask for nothing more of a better player.
Yeah. Okay, man. How would you, like, I've watched you play, but in your words, how do you describe Marcus Sayles' style? Like, when you get on that field, what do you think, and what's your mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like I'm a big play guy. Like you were talking about my size. I've never thought my size has been, something that I couldn't overcome. I feel like I can match up with, pretty much any receiver speed wise. I mean, my height might be different, but at the same time, if I'm looking at the ball and I'm tracking the ball, that's the only thing that really matters. But, I've been an explosive player. I feel like I'm, one of the faster players in the league. I explode well. I've just been able to just make plays, and I've been able to just be in good positions whenever the coaches put me in. So, I love the game of football. It's something that, I generally just love to play, and, I'm just excited to, just continue to see where this career goes for me.
I'm a small guy. Don't take that the wrong way. Like, I'm a small guy, so I like smaller guys. You know what I mean? Guys that have to fight and scrape and claw. Question for you. What is better, running through a guy like you did in open field, or a pick six for a touchdown? What feels better?
Definitely the pick six. You can't beat a pick six. That's every DB's dream, and hopefully I can get as much as possible. But I mean, a pick six is everything.
Yeah. So talk about this week, my friend. It's kind of a weird week. Like, you're in the playoffs. You have a home playoff game. You don't know where it's going, whether it's first place in a bye or second place. It's weird in the sense that you kind of won't know quite yet before you get onto the field. So you guys going to be checking out on your phones, or are you going to be watching it in the locker room, or is it just we're tunnel vision?
We're pretty much tunnel vision, because I'm pretty sure even when they're playing, we're pretty much going to be warming up, for our own game. And, I'm pretty sure, our coaches probably be watching, on the side, but at the same time, we need to go 1-0 this week. And, because even if they Winnipeg did lose, we still got to win our game anyway. So, we still got to play most of our guys on the team. We're probably not going to be benching too many guys, if any. And we just going to come out and we're just going to keep swinging. And this is just going to give us the momentum going into that next week.
So just before you, I had Tyrell Ford on from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I asked him, what's his guilty pleasure food? He said he goes to Costco and gets like the big bag of M&M peanuts. You're a young dude, your metabolism's fast. If you have if you're, celebrating a win or whatever, what's your guilty pleasure food? What are you munching on, dude?
Honestly, it may sound bad, but I'm just a big pizza guy. I can eat pizza literally every single day if I really wanted to. So just straight pepperoni and bacon. That's all I need.
Marcus, the Regina has the best pizza in Canada. People say that it has. Have you been around to many pizza joints?
I haven't been to any pizza joints yet. I need to though.
Okay, dude. I'll hook you up through Ariel because one of my sponsors, Stats Pizza. I'll get you some pizza, dude. Before the season's done,
please.
It's on, man. It's on. I'll
Yes,
make
sir.
sure I hook that up. Two more quick questions for you. You're in a 9-team league. You've already referenced this. Is it cool to know a lot of the guys? You've either played with them or against them. It's different than playing against the 32. In a 32-team league. Do you like that intimacy of the CFL?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun being able to go against all the guys that you've been with, and especially for me being on 3 different teams. I've built up a lot of relationships with a lot of guys, and even on the teams that I've been on, I still talk to them here and there. And it's fun. It's fun when you get to play against somebody, and then at the end of the game you get to laugh it up, joke about whatever happened, and continue to move on. So I've built tons of relationships over these last couple of years, and I couldn't think of being in any other place. The CFL has definitely been my home these last couple of years, and I hope I can just keep going.
It's funny too. F does kind of stand for fun in the CFL. I've talked to a lot of guys that have come from the States, played in the NFL, played in the CFL, and they said, yeah, you can make way more money in the NFL, but I had way more fun in the CFL. You've experienced the same thing. Fun is key.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is fun at the same time, but it's also our job. And at the end of the day, I approach it just like any other job or any other situation I'd be in. And it is fun, but at the same time, I'm here to work. I'm here to grind. I'm here to win these championships, and the relationships that we build, and all the things that we do outside of football, that's going to come by itself. But at the end of the day, we're here for a business, for a job, and I'm just locked in that way. So.
I'm a Canadian through and through, so I know what the CFL means, and I know what the Grey Cup championship means. I have reverence for it. You didn't grow up wanting to play in the CFL. You had no idea what the hell the Grey Cup is. But how much do you appreciate the chase for what is a very historic trophy, and is probably it's a more symbolic trophy than a Lombardi trophy, because you get a new Lombardi trophy every year. Everybody gets the Grey Cup, and it's one Grey Cup. So just talk about your reverence now, maybe for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I've won one already, but
Yep.
at the same time, I talk to a lot of the guys. There's some guys in this league that can play 10, 11, 12 years and not even get close to touching to a Grey Cup. So the fact that I was able to at least have touched it and won one already within my second year, that's a blessing. And on the road that we're in now, we feel like we're on that same type of chase. We got the team, we got the coaches, we got the schemes, we got the players, we got everything we need. We just got to continue to put it together, and it's gonna feel so special. Especially this year for me after getting cut and then having to maybe play the same team in the first round of the playoffs, and then winning it in BC too. That everything can mean so much to me. So we're just going to continue to stay locked in and continue to grind, and it's going to be a special year for us.
So I'm going to sneak one more in here. You have Grey Cup cachet, like you said, and I knew that. Pardon me for not, or forgive me for not mentioning it earlier. I talk about leadership. You bring leadership. You won a Grey Cup. What can you tell to these guys? Can you see some similarities with when you won with what you're seeing in this locker room to kind of pep the guys up? Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it kind of starts from the locker room. When I won one, we were really close knit in 2019, and we also had the players and the coaches. We had Caleros came in, we had guys like Willie Jefferson come in, and you do need talent, you do need talent, do need coaching, but at the same time, you still need that camaraderie. You still need guys being on the same mission, the same mentality, and kind of that same focus, and that's what we got here. So kind of going back on to when we were losing games, it feels good that we've never really faltered. And I feel like that's kind of why we're in the position where we're at now, because we could have kept losing, and we could have kept falling and not even been in the playoffs. So it feels good that we all was able to come around and be able to fix that. So
Well, with my sponsor Stats, I'm your pizza hookup man. I'll get that hooked up for you, man. Maybe
Please.
you can celebrate a playoff win or a Grey Cup championship with a pizza. We'll talk to you soon, bro, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you.
There it is. Here with Scott MacAulay, head coach of the Regina Thunder. Coach, just tell us how big a win that was for your program against the Hilltops.
Well, it's a huge win. It's our second time we won the PSC championship in the last 3 years, and to be able to go up there and also not fared well the last 2 times we played them during the regular season. It was great for the boys to be able to step up and win that game. But I think for an organization, like this is our third PFC championship we've ever won, and I think the bottom line is that there's a lot of people that are pretty proud and the time and effort that the board of directors and the alumni and everything. It's a pretty satisfying moment for everybody.
Yeah, I had Kelly Rempel on earlier. Kelly said, after you guys lost 36-11, you sat down with the coaching staff and said, we have to kind of reinvent ourselves, even though we don't have much of a season left. So what went into that? Like, what did you mean by reinvent yourself?
I don't know, we played the Hilltops twice, and if we were going to have that third time, the bottom line is that whatever we were doing, wasn't working. And so we had to kind of look at, what we were good at, what we weren't good at. And, like an offense, like look at your assets, right? Like Sadiq and Rylan Leichert and our offensive line, have been really our strength points, right? And even the receivers too, like they're really good at stock blocking. That's one thing that they're really good at. So we really want to just kind of dive in, look at our assets, and then, look at where our weaknesses were, and then develop a new plan from there, both on offense, defense, and special teams. And, I think we found a good solution.
Yeah, well, I guess so, because you've been running roughshod with those 2 running backs. Talk about the X factor, which is Leichert. Now, you'd say, well, Rylan Leichert isn't a wild card, but I think he is a wild card because he comes back and everybody else is worn down from a relatively long season. He's now just hitting his stride midway through the year. That is a real X factor for your team.
100%. When he had his time off, like he maybe could have came back a week or 2 weeks early, and we chose not to. We chose to have a specific date that we were going to hold off and bringing him back onto the field, and he agreed to it. And we just wanted to make sure that he was completely healthy, and it paid off. And that was one of the things we kind of talked about. It's okay if you miss this next week. You'll be coming back right at the right time against Calgary, and that's when we'll reintroduce you to everybody. And it worked out well.
Yeah, he is a real leader on offense and on defense. I had Stephen Smith on the show. What a great kid, man. And how much, you've had other guys go, Riley, Schick, and the list goes on, practice with the Riders and then come back. How much does that help a guy like that in his development and help your team in turn?
Yeah, them going to the Riders has been a great thing. There's obviously a lot of things that they learn in regards to how to conduct themselves, as true professionals, and then also even there's certain skill sets and stuff that they learn there that they can pass along. But I think it's more about being that true professional, and in some ways I'm sitting there going, man, they come back and they get beat up, man, they're broken and stuff, and you're somewhat giving your best players to the Riders, and then you're getting them back at 75%. So I think that basically the way that they kind of grow as men and become more professionals definitely outweighs the fact that maybe they're not playing up to full speed.
Yeah, that's a lot of football for guys, isn't it?
Yeah, but what? I'll give kudos to the Riders, and Coach Mace and even their linebacker coach there. It's the first time ever that they kind of put in some stipulations in where they're not. Stephen Smith's not allowed to practice 48 hours before one of our games. And that's never been done before. So, Riley Schick might have been still practicing and doing one-on-ones and whatever it is, scout team, the day before one of our games. And, they put that in there, and they saw that, that he could use some of the rest, and it started to pay off.
That's awesome, man. Okay, so let's talk about this game coming up here against the Okanagan Sun. I don't know how many of their players are holdovers from 2022, but it's a chance to maybe right a bit of a wrong here. I know it's a new season, but you can't tell me you're human. I know what a competitor you are. They're coming to your town again, and you get a chance to maybe right a wrong 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about that, like the Hilltop game, such a, like just, you come off such a huge high, and the Hilltop game is like so emotional, and now you're playing against a team that you don't really know. And honestly, it's a big game because it's a CGFL national championship, but like if whatever's high must come low, and like now we got to figure out how to get back up there, right? But I think the beautiful thing is like exactly what you just talked about is that, 2 years ago they came into our house, during a national championship game, and they took it from us. So it could be a little bit of a redemption story, but then at the same time, there's a lot of dudes that are participating in the game that were never part of it. But there is a lot of guys on our side of the fence that actually did. You look at your Lukey, you got your Kenton F, Stephen Smith, Mitch Tanchuk, Adam King, Phil Zach, Birdquest. Like, there's a lot of guys. Ryan Leichert, Sadiq. There's a lot of guys there that want to, make that wrong or right. And so, we'll play on that card a little bit for sure. But I'm really excited to have this opportunity to have this type of game, being hosted in Regina at Livewell Field. Like, it's going to be insane. The place is going to be packed. It's going to be loud. It's going to be an awesome environment.
Scott MacAulay, you remind me a lot of Frank McChrystal, the fact that you're a really hands-on guy, you know all your dudes. Like, you know all your dudes. Just talk about, we'll get to your sons in a minute, but you seem to be like the surrogate dad for 60 or 70 other kids. Just talk about that and how important that is to kind of know what makes each guy tick and be a hands-on guy like that.
Yeah, like, I mean, you get to know them throughout the whole recruiting process, and then obviously, like, with that as well, like, there's a lot of times during the off season with workouts at level 10 or, the indoor camps or just, going to RSBC to the skill camps, things like that, where, you really start to develop some of those strong relationships and you get to know who they are. And, this is one of the years that I actually, like, we have such a strong coaching staff, and Paul Dawson's done a great job with the defense, and Stephen Ensign also running the offense, and Brett Strong's really picked it up with special teams, where I feel like I've been able to spend a little bit more time with guys one-on-one to sort of, work with them mentally to kind of get them ready to go and see what push some of their buttons to get them going again, But we also have John Tokar, who's our leadership development coordinator, and, there's other support staff as well, like our main medical person, Shannon Howe, does a great job of, talking to the guys and making sure that they're completely ready, or keeping us coaches in the loop, and, been lucky with that.
Hey, give a shout out to Jake Flair, Rogers' kid. He's out there on the sidelines, and he's the FIAP program at Winston Knoll, but he is on your sidelines, and he's a true Booth guy.
He's been a great addition. Also, I met Jake for the very first time when he was at Winston Knoll, because my kids were there, and he would always come up and give them a high five, and they actually became pretty close and pretty tight and started hanging out quite a bit. Like, let it be going to Rogers' house, to the gutter to watch a hockey game, or meet him up at Pat games and stuff like that. So kind of got to know him that way, and I wasn't quite sure how things would kind of fit with us, and players took him in right away. And Jake also comes to practice, and he works his butt off all practice. His dad holds him super accountable too, which is great to see, But Jake comes and he works hard during practice, like running water around and making sure everyone's fully hydrated. And I'll tell you what, he'll never ever miss a breakdown. He's one of the first guys there. As soon as I blow the whistle, he's sprinting, and I think that makes the players sprint there as well. So it's a pretty good setup.
Yeah, good on Roger. Good on Jake. Okay, talk about being a dad now. I saw the picture. By the way, it was cool. My memories, your boys, you brought your boys to visit Mike at UND. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Like your kids. And I saw your picture after the game when you beat the Hilltops. One boy, Matthew, is dressed as a very accomplished long snapper. By the way, if you keep doing that, he you could retire early, Dad. You could be a long snapper in the NFL for a long time. But then you got Chase, who's not dressed. How tough is that as a dad / head coach? One guy, I know we know football and the boys get it, but it's got to be tough to be a dad. You got one kid that's good at dress, one kid that's not good at dress in a very important day like that in Saskatoon.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not emotional enough with that kind of stuff, but when it was special to have both of them there, and even though Chase wasn't dressed, I think our scout team guys realized, the time and effort that they put into practice to prepare the stars and stuff is equally as important, right? And I felt like, he grabbed that trophy and he was so proud of it and, gave it a kiss or whatever it was. And it kind of made me realize, I'm like, well, you didn't play in the game. And then I saw him and the emotions that he had hosting that trophy up as a scout team guy. And, it reemphasized, how important, they are to our team, but also how important those win are to those players as well, right? But having the four of us there on the field and stuff was great. I should have posted a picture with that picture back in 2013 when we first won it, because they were, I think they were like 4 or something like that at the time, and it was like -40 out and stuff. And then obviously now they're big dudes. But yeah, no, it's been great. Chase and I have had some conversations where, why am I not? Well, who are you going to replace? There's a lot of great players, and the bottom line is that, I think I've done a decent job with trying to take that out of my hands and leave that in my coach's hands. And also there's those moments where, it could go either which way, where, I kind of sit back and go, well, am I hurting my kid because I'm not playing him, or am I, pulling favoritism that way and stuff? So you kind of struggle with that. And, I kind of try to leave it in the coach's hands, and they've done a good job, I think.
I got a lot of respect for you that way. And you're a guy that does laundry, like you're on the ground floor, okay? A lot like Frank used to do and sell 50-50 tickets at Rider games. Like you would do that. I remember him and Wendy counting money at the end there. So just talk about how for your whole family, like Frank's kids grew up at the field. Bernie's kids grew up at the field. You know what I mean? Lots of, we can list coaches. So just talk about how important the Thunder organization is to the MacAulay family, including your lovely wife, Susan. Like, it's part of your identity now.
Yeah, maybe that's a scary thing, because you never know. One of these days I could get fired, and what the hell do you do now, right? So, but yeah, like it kind of started like I played for the Thunder in 2000, and I coached in 2001 and 2002. And, when I was in 2000, like I was with the Rams, and when they went to university, I wasn't tall enough or fast enough really to play at that next level. And, I was basically said, hey, like, you're not going to play. You want to move on with school? I moved on with schooling. And then I soon realized how much football like meant to me, just like, that year was a real tough year of not having like a place to hang your hat, So when the Thunder kind of came along, like allowed me to get back involved in the game and feel like I'm part of something special. And it's definitely something that I needed at that time. Like I was a lost soul, And so I'm forever grateful for that. And then having the opportunity to coach there in 2001, 2002. And even when I moved on and went to the Rams, I always had that, that sort of that thunder in the heart, or in the still stuck in the soul, right? Because it's a place that gave you a place to play when you need it the most and stuff. And so to be able to come back and be a part of it as a coach in 2010, and to be still there now, like it's a huge part, right? And right now I'm just trying to work hard to leave a strong legacy and lead something that is sustainable, forever. Like some point I'll get fired, or at some point I'll have to hang her up and let somebody else rock and roll. But we want to create like a sustainable sort of organization, and that's why it's important to have like Murad and Kelly Rempel and all these other guys on board as well, right? So we can do something special and leave our mark.
Hey, you're not getting fired. Just beat the Hilltops. And now
yeah.
Hey, best of luck, man. I appreciate you taking time. And can't wait for your playing in the national championship. Hey, just one last thing. Talk about how important it is to have the 13th man at Live Field here on Sunday, 1 o'clock.
It's going to be huge because, like, Okanagan's going to be coming. They got unbelievable athletes. Like, I don't know where they get these guys from, but like they're tall, they're fast, they're agile. And I think the big thing for us is going to be that crowd being extra loud when their offense is on, so they can't make those audibles. They're also just simply kind of get in their heads a little bit, right? That 13th man is going to be a huge thing for us, and it's also going to have our players all jacked up and amped up and ready to rock and roll. Like I said, that Hilltop game is an emotional game, and you're on the super high, and at some point you got to come down, right? You can't be up there forever, and I think having a huge crowd there and all that kind of stuff is going to help our guys get back to that level that they need to be successful. Because Okanagan's a great team, and it's not going to be easy. That's for sure.
Scott, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I apologize. That's Michael Ball, the host, not being very good as Michael Ball, the engineer. He, my friend Scott MacAulay, should have wore earphones. I should have got him to wear earbuds, so it would have reduced the echo. So I apologize for that, but nevertheless, you could get most of what he's saying. He is excited for his team's big game, expecting a crowd of between 12 and 1,400. And if you can't get there to watch it, Sunday at Liable Field against the Okanagan Sun in a rematch of the 2022 Canadian Bowl that Okanagan won. If you cannot get there, you can watch it on Access Now Sports. 1:00 kickoff on Sunday. Avery LeBlanc, whose brother Lorne is a defensive back and a good one at that, 4 interceptions, but it's been bothered by AC joint injuries in his shoulders, one on one side, one on the other side. He did gut it out and play in the game, but get nicked up a couple of times against the Hilltops. He is a defensive back on the team. So Avery will be on the call. Elliot Wagner will be there, and they're endeavoring to get a color commentator because yours truly will not be at that game. I'm picking my kid. Even though they're my Thunder brothers, I got to pick my blood family, my son. I'm going to go watch what could be his last college game. We'll see. Anyway, that is a nice chat there with Scott MacAulay. I do apologize for the technical snafus. Want to thank some of my sponsors, Italian Star Deli. Go see Carlo, Heather, Gino, and the gang over there. Sandwiches, deli meats. They've even got like your London Fog and your specialty drinks. It's a great place. Dessert, you name it. Payson Insurance Services. Kevin's a former Ram and Western Mustang. Coached high school football for a number of years in Regina. He works with families and small to medium businesses, helping to maximize their financial security through investments and insurance products, and also consults on employee benefit plans and helps with your retirement, estate, and succession planning. Also want to give a shout out to Cravings Restaurant, Mr. D Stats, Cocktails and Dreams, and Cravings Restaurant. When you watch Rider games, you can win tickets and or jerseys down there. 1832 Victoria Avenue East. Jason and Mia, two great restaurant entrepreneurs and just generally great people. So thanks to them for getting on board. And my buddy, that's right, my buddy, Kevin Welsh, Hammer Time Roofing in the Saskatoon area, 262 Roof. If you need to get in the roofing game and get all your roofing products and craftsmanship on the roof with Kevin Welsh and Hammer Time Roofing. He's also a sponsor of my shirts, which I've been putting them off because we got something in the hopper here. We're going to have a Grey Cup party. I'm going to hand out shirts there. So, and I'll have some extras as well. So the Our Balls Are Bigger shirts are on the way, courtesy of Hammer Time Roofing. All right. Our next guest here, who I caught up with a couple of days ago, Zelko Stefanovic of the SAS Selects football program. Will be doing this on a bi-weekly basis. It's the SAS Selects Spotlight. All right, talking to my friend Zelko Stefanovic with the SAS Selects football program. This is a guy right here. I talked to you on the radio, but I get to do it visually here. This is a guy that had a big hand in getting my kid to where he is today. And hopefully his next chapter will be written. I'm actually going up to the UFC this weekend to watch what I'm hoping is his, knock on wood, his last college game in the regular season. They're having their seniors day because his draft year is next year. So you played a big hand in helping him get to where he is today, which, you know, Zelko, in hindsight, it's a little, I'm not saying it's impossible for Canadians to go now, but it's a little bit harder, or they need people like you to open up doors, because with that portal and NILs and stuff, it's a lot, they're not as easy to look to Canada unless they get some help, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, man. Like, things have like what we noticed is when we first started this in 2018 or 19, we noticed a huge difference, like especially during COVID, right? That's when things really changed, on the U.S. recruiting side. Because Michael, they used to recruit between 22 and 28 kids, like a typical, FBS or FCS school, which is Division One, right? They used to recruit between 22 and 26 kids or 28 kids every year, right? Like those were those were their freshmen, right? Because they had that many kids graduating every year, so they'd recruit the same amount from high school.
Yeah.
And when we first started, that's the way it worked, right? I mean, we went down our first year with 4 kids, and shit, man, like one of them got recruited.
Yeah.
While we were there. So we thought, man, this is crazy. So the next year we followed through, and we got another kid recruited, and we had another, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and the transfer portal started becoming more of a thing. And now they maybe recruit a handful of kids. Like if they recruit 5 or 6 kids out of high school, and I'm talking about just the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not talking about them recruiting kids out of Canada. Listen, if you're 6'8", or 6'7", or 6'5", 6'6", and you're playing left tackle, it doesn't matter where you are, they'll find you, right? Like I mean, those kids, that are 6'8" or 6'9", like those kids are pretty rare, right? And it doesn't take long, for word to get out that there's a 6'8" kid somewhere, right? When you're Ethan size or when you're 6'1" and you're playing in the middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan, you got to go out there and highlight what you've got, right? And you got to get in front of the coaches and like last year we had that kid, and I'm gonna name names obviously because like I mean like that's what we do, right? Like last year or like 2 years ago we took a kid. We didn't go last year, but 2 years ago we took a kid. We took a bunch of kids, but like we had Matt Rule working out Liam LaBelle. Liam LaBelle ran a 4.58. He broad jumped or 10 feet. My God! Like I mean, like he had the best linebacker numbers. Even he was 6th overall with the DBs at Iowa State. Like to run, and so Matt Rule in Nebraska works him out personally. He had a stopwatch there with his cronies, and we set it up so that he can actually work out for the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, which is a historic program, right?
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing.
Wow.
Like the kid's 6'4", 210 pounds, ran a 4.58. Like, I mean, really, when you think about those kind of numbers, and I've always been a huge proponent of measurables, right? Like, you got to have the height, you got to have the size, you got to have the speed. But if we can't find that kid a scholarship in the U.S., man, like there's something going on, right? There's something going on that's beyond what, beyond what we can comprehend or understand, in the U.S. market, and like the whole methodology of the transfer portal has kind of shifted away from the high school player, and now it's
college free agency is what it is. It's college free agency is what it is, and they bounce around. But the bottom line is where I'm going with this is parents still reach out to me because they know about Ethan's journey, and I always say, if you want to, you need a guy like Zelko to open some doors for you, even if it gets all the way open, but you got a puncher's chance with a guy like you because you're a bulldog and you got some contacts. Now, the other thing with this is we see it a lot with hockey, but now we're starting to get it with your program going into year 13 here in Saskatchewan. You've got outlets in Manitoba and one tied in with the Golden Bears. More reps on the field. Like you do it throughout the winter, and I think it's a cool thing. Just tell us a little bit about that for people that aren't aware.
Right. Like, listen. Like I think that what started off as just a bunch of dads wanting to get their kids to play more football, and man, like we in 2011. We didn't know what we were doing. Like we had 34 kids, and we just said, hey, you know what, like. The Yara was freshly built, so, we had an opportunity to practice. We had a great venue. Said, hey, let's practice, and then let's take these kids down to San Antonio, Texas, like of all places, and play in a game. So that's how it originally started. Just a 12U team, and the following year, man, like we had so many kids that we had to make 3 teams. and then we took 3 teams to San Antonio. And then the following year after that, man, we had 450 kids try out. And I'm going like, good God, man, like that's, what do we do about all that, right? So that's kind of how it ballooned. And then because the program became so popular that we had so many good coaches that were involved in it, we kind of turned it into a program where, kids that come out now know what they're doing. Like they know that, we first and foremost, like you have to teach them their positional skills, right? Like, I mean, you and I both know we both coached high school. I coached high school for 12 years, at Johnson and then at Vanier years ago or whatever. Like, man, during the season, we were always busy just getting ready for the next game. Like, I mean, what do you do? Like, you forget about indies, right? Like, I mean, you're doing Team O, you're doing Team D, and then you walk, so like a lot of that individual skill development is forgotten, right? Especially as it might work, you might get some more of that at the start of the season, but near the end or near the middle, you're prepping for Friday's game.
Well, let me stop you. The one difference my son has found with U Sports as opposed to playing at UND is the concentration on skill drills in practice at the U of C. Like they're more focused on that because when you go down to American college, that's their first sport. Like it's not hockey, it's football. They expect you to hit the ground running. So there's not even a lot of indie drills. It's more systems, more like you were talking about. So that's another reason why going to a program like this is the way to go if you have any aspirations of, hitting the ground running at the next level.
Well, you know what? Like, I mean, like that's the way we run our practices. Like you will get, like every practice is based on getting. There's no kids standing around, so you're gonna get a ton of reps, like a ton of reps with some good coaching, and it's a university style practice, right? Like, I mean, you start off with some individual drills. We have compete drills that are a ton of fun. And I tell you, it's not easy, right? Like, I mean, it's like we demand a shit ton from these kids, right? And a lot of them are not used to this, because they're a lot of kids are used to these days just getting shit given to them, man.
Yeah.
Like just handed stuff on a silver platter. It's not the way the program works, man. Like you're gonna grind. You've got a spot, but in order, like I yell a lot. And the reason I yell is because if you're a fucking receiver, like you're supposed to catch the damn ball.
Yep.
If you're a quarterback, you're supposed to make sure that ball gets to the receiver's hands. You got to give him something that he can catch, right?
Yep.
And I mean, if those offensive linemen that are busting their asses to block for you, well, that goes for nothing if, for example, the ball hits the turf. So a lot is asked of these kids that come into our program.
So is the schedule? What does the schedule look like? There's the mentality, and I like it. Like we're going to coach you hard. You expect things from us as coaches. We expect things from you as players. But what does the schedule look like? When does it start? Is it every weekend? How does that go? Yeah,
so it starts early November, and then it goes every second weekend until April when we go to Europe, right? So, I mean, it's an incredibly busy winter, right? So, the first month of November, there's like every weekend is full of practices, right? Like, and then when we come back from Vegas, December is again practices. Then we set up for our tournament in January, and this is again first time ever. We have a team from Mexico coming. They're bringing a 14U. I don't know if you got a chance to watch some of that stuff from last year.
I did a little bit last year.
California's coming back. Boston's coming back. For the first time ever, we have a team from Texas, from Austin, Texas, coming.
So let me stop you. Tell the people, you and I know about the tournament, but tell the people what this tournament is all about. You hold it at the Yar Center. It's indoors in January. The music's pumping. It's got that real energetic feel to it, but just tell us about the tournament.
Yeah, man, the vibe is crazy. The tournament starts it's a 4-day tournament because we have so many teams. Like we turn it into a 4-day tournament. It's wall-to-wall football, 10 to 12 hours a day, from 9 a.m. to the varsity teams play at in the evenings when all the parents. And I mean the vibe in there is crazy. Like you said, the music's pumping. We have a massive screen set up for replays. you know, like the kids can actually look up and you know, everything, like four different camera angles. IKS is doing a crazy job with that. So this is the third year they're doing it for us. You've met with Paul, like
Yep.
you know, we talked about maybe getting you to do the championship games.
Oh, I am for sure.
So yeah, I mean, again, like the vibe is crazy, and it's the same. Like the 10Us and 11Us and 12Us, man, they get the same. They get this, you know, they get the same vibe and impact that the varsity kids get, right? So that's kind of one of the things that we pride ourselves in this program is, you know, making sure that the teams that the teams that are playing in it are going to have a ton of fun. Because some kids are just going to do our Moose Shot tournament and they're not going to travel with us to Florida or to Austria or whatever, right, or Vegas. So that tournament is crazy because for the first time ever, there's some teams from Ontario coming, like our teams from Alberta, Manitoba. There's probably going to be about 25 teams. So
Well, how does this work, Zelko? My son worked out with your teams. We didn't have the funds, so I just said, okay, and I can speak to this. So I spent a little bit on training, and then I got him to come work out with you guys doing drills, and then he went down with you on a recruiting trip. So truth be told, he didn't play with the program per se. That was just a choice of mine based on budgetary reasons. But you just mentioned something here. You said kids can, like, can you be a part of the program, play in this local tournament, but if you don't have the funds to go, like, how does that work?
100%, yeah. So like you can choose whatever you want. If you wanted to just take part in the Moose Jaw tournament, 100% awesome, right? Like, I mean, if you wanted to just go to Vegas, but still be part of the program for the rest of the year, you can do that. If you wanted just to go to Florida, like we have a bunch of kids that just want to go to Europe because last year's trip was crazy, you know, so they want to go back, right? And look, our Florida tournament was awesome. You know, like last year as a whole, you know, there wasn't a lot of disappointments in the teams that we got an opportunity to play. Because in the past, it was really hard to go down to the U.S. and find good competitive teams to play, right? Last year, we went to Florida, and our varsity red team, which was our you know, number one team, lost in their first game 7-0 or 6-0, you know? And we hadn't lost in like 3 years with our varsity program, right? So we played a team of an all-star team from 3 different high schools in Florida. That was a crazy team, you know, and one of the best games I'd ever seen, right? It was tied right till 2 minutes left in the game. So now we found a place where we can go, and especially for the older kids, it's not hard finding competitive games for the younger kids. The older kids, that's when we run into trouble in the U.S., right? Because like those kids, their high school coaches won't let them play, right? So we're able to find a place. They're totally bought in. The community's bought in. You know, we took a ton of people there last year. I mean, it's a small community just outside of Orlando. That's where we stay. I mean, it's paradise out there, man. And it's a ton of fun. The parents love it because it's a week-long holiday for them that we sprinkle some football in there for them. You know, our kids are super competitive. Like we are in every game. You know,
Are the Americans surprised that these from Saskatchewan that they've got some pretty good football players?
Well, I tell you, like this all-star team that we played at the varsity level, they were shocked. They were shocked that the game was 0-0 with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like they couldn't believe it. They said, "What is going on here?" And you know what? Like, I mean, had we not made one small error, it probably would have gone into overtime, right? But a ton of fun, man. We were playing in the drizzly rain on a grass field in January or in February in Florida, man. Like, you know, I have to say, man, like the experience for the families is unlike any other, right? I mean, it's a family trip. You know, like we travel with families. We rarely ever chaperone any kids, only under special circumstances. But the families, the memories and stuff like that, especially last year with Europe. You know, some of those families just absolutely love that trip, man. And you know, some kids will never play football again. You know, and when you look at it, the football experience itself is out of this world. But you know, the experience itself is like second to none. And those are.
I had Jim Mullen on, former president of Football Canada, now with IFAF. and he's always said football communities in silos, like they have trouble working together. And he said, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that he referenced your program. I'm not saying what happens with the selects is right or wrong, or some of these private schools in Ontario are right or wrong. They just are. It just is what it is. And Football Canada needs to accept it. So my question to you is, what you're doing there, how is that being better received than maybe in the past? I know in the past, university schools in Canada were kind of cool towards you because you were trying, you have always supported youth sports. Your kid played youth sports, so it's not like your kid didn't play for the Rams, okay? But you were of the belief that our kids are good. They can go to the States. And so I thought maybe these schools were a little cool towards you because you're trying to take some prospects or direct some prospects away. Has that changed over the years, or are they warming up to what you're doing there?
Well, I tell you, man, you know what? We've reached out to the different levels of football in the country first and foremost, right? Mm-hmm. I was at Football Canada. I met with Shannon Donovan when she was the executive director at one time. I tell you, everything is so Ontario-centric, man, when it comes to some of those national sports organizations, right? So they have very little time and thought put into what happens out here in the West, especially, it surprises me with a sport like football that's so heavily played in Saskatchewan. I think Saskatchewan itself has almost as many members playing football, organized football, that Ontario does, right? So, listen, the original thought behind all of this was to help put more kids, more Canadian kids to play in the CFL, right? And
right.
If the route is through the U.S., that was where we were going to, really put our efforts through. And, we had hired a guy that, that helped us, like a consultant that helped us in the U.S., but as the transfer portal became more of a thing, and now it is the only thing, we saw that the opportunities for our Canadian kids weren't going to be as prevalent as they once were, right? Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of kids being recruited from Canada. Don't get me wrong, man, but it's becoming harder and harder, right?
Yeah.
And there's dudes out there taking $10,000, Michael, to help a kid recruit. I've never been able to understand that, on how you can take money from a kid or from a family and tell them that you're going to get them recruited. That to me didn't make any sense at all, because nobody, not me, nobody can. We can put them in front of coaches, but nobody can help them get recruited, right? No. So I think over the years we've probably rubbed some people the wrong way. We've always, Football Sask has always kind of treated us with respect. We've never had any issues with Football Sask. They kind of leave us on our own, almost like with a mild neglect or whatever,
Yeah.
But then again, we don't cause any waves either. Our program is winter based.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a program in North America that spends more time and more of an effort to make sure that what we bring to the kids is first and foremost, an aspect of safety, right? You got to teach the kids how to tackle.
Well, you got those tackling bags. You got state-of-the-art tackling bags. You got those shock collars that you were involved with.
We've done all of, we've had, for 7 years now, we've had a doctor on our sidelines. When we travel and at our practices, we have a training staff that's for sure youth sport level, but if not CFL level, right? With our doctor. So the kids are taking care of that in that regard, right? At practices. So it's not like we're neglecting any part of, the football side. Injuries happen. That's going to happen for sure, right? It's football. You're going to have broken bones. That you can't help that when there's contact, right?
Before I let you go here, I want to ask you this question, and we're going to do this on a bi-weekly basis. We call this the SAS Select Spotlight, so we'll have coaches, players on. But I want to ask you this: somebody's watching this. So who's coaching my kid? You talked about coaching hard and expectations, but who's coaching my kid? What kind of level coaches do you got there?
Well, we have everything from university coaches to CFL coaches to high school coaches to RMF coaches, like, at all levels. Like, you got guys like Greg Nesbitt, Paul Dawson, Scott MacAulay, Matt Rumpel. Like those guys are high level, high end coaches, right? Nick Lewis coaches with us. So they're going to get a lot of coaching, and they're going to get a lot of position specific coaching, right? Which, and like we have quite a few of the Rams players that help us on the coaching side. Those kids, those younger kids really look up to them. And like those kids are taking what they're doing right now at the Rams practice or the Bears practice or the Huskies practice, and essentially implementing into our program, right? Like it's tough to find somebody that's knowledgeable at a high school level to coach running backs. I mean, that's a tough position to coach, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to know what you're doing when it comes to running backs coaching. If my kid wants to be a running back, at an R or minor football level, what's he going to do? Like, who's going to go coach him, right?
Yeah.
So you really, as a parent, have to go work hard to find somebody that you can actually give this kid some some actual positional coaching, right? So that's one of the things that we offer. You'll have a position specific coach for every position, right?
Awesome. Okay, for more information, how do they go about getting a hold of you? Is it too late to get into the program because it's starting in November? And if so, when should they start looking at getting involved with your program?
Well, listen, like they can always go have a look on our website, selectsfootball.com, on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever, or directly through our website. All of the information is on there to schedule.
All right. So that was our interview with Zeljko Stefanovic, the head of the Selects football program in their year 13. They've got a chapter in Manitoba and one that's tied in too with the U of A Golden Bears. So he'll have a vested interest in watching that game, as he's got some, I think he's friends with Steve Sombach, who's got four boys on the Rams. Rams taking on the Alberta Golden Bears on Friday, also at Leibel Field. So Leibel Field's going to get a real workout. We got the Rams and the Golden Bears. If the Rams win, they're in the playoffs. It's that simple. If the Rams lose, then the Golden Bears have to wait till Saturday's game when the Dinos play the Huskies. If the Dinos win, Golden Bears and Rams are out, and Dinos are in. If the Dinos lose, the Golden Bears are in. But it's all done. I know that's clear as mud. Basically this. If the Rams win, they're in, and the other two teams are out, and the Huskies are in third. They can't go up or down. So one Saskatchewan team will be in the playoffs. Then on Sunday at 1 o'clock, one for sure, I'm saying. Then at 1 o'clock on Sunday, it's going to be the Regina Thunder against the Okanagan Sun in the national semifinal. The winner goes to the Canadian Bowl in Windsor in a couple of weeks' time. So get your tickets, get to that game, and watch the Regina Thunder and Scott MacAulay go after their second national championship. Third time they've been in a semifinal in this, their 25th year. That's going to do it for my time. Tomorrow, I'm just going to air a special interview with Caleb Joseph, who's the former Major League catcher. It's Taking Cuts with Caleb Joseph, Rogers Sportsnet analyst. We tee up the World Series, the Yankees and the Dodgers, which should be iconic, and both teams can hit. Dodgers are a bit nicked up in their pitching staff. That's why I'm kind of going Yankees, but he's the expert, Caleb Joseph, Taking Cuts, exclusive to this podcast when he's not working at Rogers. So we'll air that tomorrow, but I'm not here on Friday and not here for the post-game show on Saturday. Myself, Kyrie Zaber, and Ryan Hall will join you after the Western semifinal and the Eastern semifinal, like that semifinal Saturday, for the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show. Thanks to all my sponsors. Thanks to Zeljko. Thanks to Scott MacAulay. Thanks to Marcus Sayles. And thanks to Tyrell Ford. If you missed any of this show, you could catch it in podcast form later today, wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for supporting this show, and we will talk to you later. Have a great weekend.